right, here we go. All right. Good morning, everyone. We are at exit 44/27 of the Merritt Parkway. I am State Senator Tony Hwang, and the reason for me to hold this press conference is as the ranking member leader on the Transportation Committee. It really is one of our biggest priorities on roadway safety. And roadway safety is part of some of the legislations that have been passed, is committed to education, awareness, and changing our infrastructure and being able to build in a system that increases roadway safety. And I'm pleased to share updates on several initiatives that are currently underway to protect drivers, bike and e-bikes rider and pedestrians throughout Connecticut. First, I want to be able to talk about the Merritt Parkway exit renumbering. We're shifting to a mileage-based exit number system which improves alignment with national standards. We're going to be aided by GPS mapping, emergency response, and accommodations for future exit additions. It is about creating a level of consistency with national standards, and the renumbering comprises approximately about 2 to 5% of the corridor sign replacement, and the cost is funded by federal and state sources as part of some of the roadway construction that are underway. The second part of what we are addressing as a policy is wrong way detection systems. And I'm happy to report, with the leadership of Governor Lamont and the funding from the General Assembly and the initiative by the Commissioner of Transportation, we have built in, for the past year and a half, wrong way detection systems, which has a profound fatality number affecting our state. And as a result, we're going to use cameras, detection technology, flashing red alerts to warn wrong way drivers and notify responders in real time to prevent tragedies. And in Fairfield, Interstate 95 exit 21 will have that system implemented. We are in exit 27 with a new numbering in the Merritt system. And I hope soon that we will also have that detection here. But one of the most important things about wrong way driving and detection and prevention is education. You're going to hear that repeatedly, in the sense that impairment, either through alcohol or substances, is one of the major causes of wrong way tragedies. So again, we can make all the laws we want, but you're going to see a common theme. Education is enforcement equaling safety on our roadways and bikeways and walkways. The third part of what we have done legislatively requires tremendous education and awareness, and that is the idea of left lane camping enforcement. What does that mean? On limited access highways such as 84, Merritt Parkway, I-95 and 91, the standard is that the extreme left lane should be for passing only. That we need to make aware and inform and educate drivers that if you are driving the speed or if you are going with the flow of traffic, you should not. And now, after a year of education, starting July and enforcement in July of 2026, that you cannot camp in the far left lane. It is a moving infraction. Now, it's going to require a lot of work, a lot of education, a lot of effort by state police and our community and education and awareness. And the other part that I want to raise in regards to roadway, bike, and pedestrian safety is that we are reviewing the e-bike powers and the speed when you're looking at over 300 cc's of motor power on what is a great idea of e-bikes. You no longer get into the threshold of normal biking. You have almost motorcycle speed and power, and we have not adopted proper language and enforcement to that effect. Now, our local chiefs of Law Enforcement raised the bill with transportation this year to consider the issue, and it is important, and it's particularly poignant and urgent that we consider that, because we have seen incredible rises in fatality of e-bikes, and in some cases scooters, in our local roadways. According to data from the Connecticut State Safety, we have seen over a 300+% increase in fatalities on e-bikes in the state of Connecticut. That is an absolute tragedy that is only going to get higher unless we increase awareness, education, and enforcement. So for me, I think these are things that we need to remind ourselves. We know that our roadways is a point A to point B for work, for quality of life. But what we need to say is, know the laws. The laws are not intended to punish drivers and pedestrians and bikers. It is to ensure safety. Now, the task of enforcing some of these legislation and increasing education comes on the burden of our great state police that enforce our highways, who do a great job. And I'll say this right now, and I'll repeat it again. We need to hire more law enforcement officials to ensure our state roadways are safe. There is an incredible shortage for the incredible and important tasks that they have to undertake. And I'm so honored here to have the commander of Troop G in Bridgeport, Lieutenant Sergeant Eckert, to be able to explain some of the enforcement measure, education measures on the legislation that we impose. So I'm very grateful for your time. God bless.
Thank you. How you doing? I'm Lieutenant Eckert, Connecticut State Police Troop G. I'm the commanding officer of the Bridgeport Barracks. This press conference is a great idea. I think from a state police aspect, we always look at it as enforcement is education, right? So we are not out there stopping cars just to generate revenue and issue tickets and punish people. It's really more of an education matter, letting people know, exactly what the laws are. So I think in conjunction with the Senator's office and applying the law, I think it's beneficial. I know that a great number of our reckless driving charges stem from people cutting back and forth in between lanes. So the left lane camping initiative, that's going to be big because it's going to reduce a lot of our motor vehicle accidents. As far as the wrong way detection system, we have had a significant drop off in our fatal accidents. For the wrong way driving, about 80% of those wrong way accidents typically wind up in a fatality. And a vast majority of those are a result of impaired driving, whether drugs or alcohol or whatever. So the wrong way detection, it's important. It lets drivers know. There's in Bridgeport at our barracks, we have the Department of Transportation works with us. There's a whole system in place. When a car goes on the wrong way, a camera system is immediately activated. There's alarms that go off. For the driver themselves, they get big spotlights directing their attention. And we are able to respond in a more efficient way. So hopefully locate and find impaired drivers, or at the very least, get the person who entered the highway incorrectly to correct themselves. Should you find yourself entering the highway incorrectly and you realize it, pull over, call 911 if you see a wrong way driver. Typically we tell people at night especially, stick to the right lane. People who get on wrong way tend to stay in what would be the left lane, but to them it's their right. So it's always the safest way to avoid head-on collisions, which, we have seen a drop-off in our fatal accidents this year.